everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Sawyer-san's Magic Ride. This week's episode, we are back in the disappointing room of mediocre videos. And honestly, this is a comfortable environment. It's all familiar to us all, and there wouldn't be no Magic Ride without this room to shoot videos in. Aside from my terrible jokes, let's get on to the news for this week. So this week, it was Easter. Yay! I hope you guys had a good Easter. I sure did. This last week I ended up taking Friday and Sunday off, so I had Good Friday and Easter Sunday. So that was very nice. The weather on both days was actually spectacular. Maybe on Easter Sunday it was a little hot, is what my Japanese teacher told me. It's a little unusual for it to be about, I want to say 70-ish degrees freedom. I don't know, I'm starting to lose my sense of temperature living in this country where they measure everything in communist degrees. All kidding aside, it was a spectacular Easter. I spent almost all day at church. I went to the morning service at which started at 10:30, and then afterwards we had a lunch with all of the church members who had signed up for it. And I actually got to dust off my vocal cords again and join in with the other sort of youth group, young adults group, and we sang together some old hymns. It was good. It's good stuff. After the lunch, I came home briefly to charge my phone, and then I went back to church and I joined in the evening service. So that was my Easter. I spent all day at church, as I'm sure most of my intern friends did. You poor suckers. No, I'm sure you loved it. So other than the spectacular weather we had on Friday and Sunday, everything else was pretty gray and dreary and rainy and kind of horrible. So that's why we're back in this room, the disappointing room of mediocre videos. I think that just about sums it up for this week's news. So now, why don't we go into questions, comments, and snide remarks, the part of the show where I answer your questions and comments that you leave in the Facebook and YouTube comments section. Let's do it. This week, let's start off with Facebook. Only one comment on the Facebook portion. Mom says, "I'm really missing you. It's so nice to spend a part of your day with you. It's beautiful there. Funny they think it's odd for not celebrating the blooms, and we think that it's odd they don't celebrate Christmas more." Difference in cultures, you know. Tell me, when you go out to eat, do they automatically serve you water? If so, does it have ice in it, or do they serve drinks just as is? What are some other differences you have noted between cultures? Okay, so I don't actually go out to eat too often here, but I've noticed that most all of the ramen shops, they give you a glass and then they just have a pitcher of ice water there with it. So, you know, you serve yourself kind of thing. As far as other drinks go, I believe they have ice in their Coke and, you know, their other drinks, that kind of thing, but I'm not too sure. It's been a long time since I actually ordered soft drinks at a restaurant. Trying to save as much money where I can. Some other differences I've noted between cultures. There's almost no culture of physical contact, really, in public at least. So, you know, giving hugs, shaking hands, of course you don't really expect that, but you don't realize how much you expect it, you know, growing up in our American Western culture, that, you know, when you notice they don't have it, you realize you haven't shaken anyone's hand in like 5-6 months, and it's just kind of jars you. Okay, now on to the YouTube. Okay, so on YouTube we have a little bit more activity. Cousin Russ Sig says, "Looks beautiful there. The cherry blossoms are starting to bloom in Seoul too. Here the dominant religion is Buddha and ancestor worship. Is it the same in Japan?" Yeah, pretty much, although most people nowadays are a-religious. They mostly go to the temples just to make empty prayers they know or they mean nothing. It's more like a traditional thing. Also, do they confront you publicly about your belief in Christ? I have a mechanic that asked me in front of everyone if I was a Christian. Are they that forward in Japan? Hope you have a great vacation. Are people more forward in Japan? I believe so. At least they are about religion. Now, I've never had anyone actually ask me in open if I was a Christian. I'm usually the first to volunteer that kind of information. You know, I say I go to church every weekend and, you know, this is my belief. I believe it strongly, and here's the reason why. So they're generally accepting of the information. I don't think they're really malicious in being forward about it, more than just curious. But anyway, I do think it is interesting to note that they're more open, or they're more free to ask about religion, that kind of thing. So, great question, Cousin Russ. Mom has a couple more on YouTube. Actually, one's from Dad. This is your dad again. Thanks for posting. It is fun to see what you're doing. Are the Japanese people into hiking wild forest land like we Americans are? And hiking wild forest lands is, I think, more rare than in America. Just because it's less accessible. As you can see from some of my videos, the hills in the background are kind of steep, and that's the only place where you can see a lot of open forest like that. Now, are there people that do it? I'm sure there are. I haven't encountered anyone really who does it as a hobby or really likes to get outdoors. Maybe it's just, the kind of people that I encounter in my job, but I haven't noticed it too much. Mom says, Sawyer, are the hills in the background of your videos developed by people, or are they wildlands still? And they're definitely more wild, I think. I haven't had the chance to get out into there because it's just a long way from my house. And without a car or some other mode of transportation, and I'm not getting a bicycle, I'm adamant about that because I'll have to sell it later, there's no reason really to develop those lands, I think. It's steeper than a cow's face, and I don't think there's any reason to put anything out there, really, especially because the hills are kind of smallish in diameter, and especially here in Yaizu, we have plenty of other land to use. Okay, I think that just about does it for this week's questions, comments, and Snyder Marks. As always, if you'd like to get involved in next week's session, all you gotta do is leave a comment down below, and I'll respond to it next week. Okay? Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Tune in next time for more awesome content with subpar production values. I'll see you then. Bye.